Der 24. April 2015 war der 100. Jahrestag des Genozids an den Armeniern durch die Türken im Osmanischen Reich. Aus diesem Anlass trafen sich junge Journalisten aus Armenien und der Türkei auf Einladung der Panter Stiftung Mitte April zu einem einwöchigen Workshop in Berlin. Ziel dieser Begegnung unter dem Titel Erinnerungskulturen war es, die Teilnehmer miteinander ins Gespräch zu bringen und ihnen zu zeigen, wie Deutschland als Land der Täter und verantwortlich für den Völkermord an 6 Millionen Juden mit seiner eigenen schwierigen Vergangenheit umgeht.
As we all very well know, this is the centennial of the Armenian genocide, and this is still an issue that remains unresolved, and I don't think it's gonna be resolving anytime soon. However, the initiative of the TAZ newspaper to bring here the journalists from Turkey as well as from Armenia, and to give us the opportunity to see and to witness the German experience when it comes to remember the atrocities that were committed in the 20th century is a nice lesson as well as a nice perspective for us to come together and combine our mutual ideas on how, as we are civilians and as we are a part of our societies, could develop a brighter future for our countries, for both of our countries, for Armenia and for Turkey. So that was my main motivation, to be a part of this project and to share my experience, and most importantly, to witness other people's experiences. The opportunity to get together with journalists from Armenia, because it was the first time that I had such a close contact with the people, my colleagues from another country, who had to face probably and maybe many more times the trauma that was created in 1915. Being together is just a nice way to establish a connection, to remember what happened, and it obviously leads all of us to take up the responsibility to find ways to reconcile and to find a solution how we can reconcile both societies as well as both states.
So with Turkey we have a common history. We both witnessed genocide. We have a lot to learn from Germans, and I think that this seminar gives us this opportunity because we have met a lot of people who are kind of experts in this issue, and also we visited many sites which are connected to this, and we can take this knowledge with us to our countries and implement it in the future. It's very emotional. You can feel all the pain, all the feelings that these people had during these times. German states willingness to recognize it, what happened in the past, and do something like that to establish this memorial and museum. It's really deserves respect from us, because not all nations, not all countries are ready to do that, to acknowledge, to accept their history. I'm very glad that our Turkish colleagues are quite open about this issue. They are not against some debate about this, and sometimes our views about it are common, because this is very important to make dialogue between two nations, the ordinary people, not the states, because if you talk to people, their opinion about this issue is quite different than the government opinion. This kind of events, this dialogue will help a lot to this process of recognition of the genocide.
Especially journalists, I think, should be more professional and should not miss any chance of learning or becoming more professional in this field. In Armenian-Turkish relations particularly, we are the ones who can make bridges or who can destroy everything. Especially from German experience, I have learned a lot of things during these days which I didn't know while reading about this experience in Armenia, and it's not the same to be here or to read in books. You know, when the guide was telling about this border that 40, 50 years ago there was a border, there were soldiers, and you can't imagine, you can't pass today. And I was thinking, we have the same situation now in Armenia. When you go to Horvirab and you see the border, and you see along the border a lot of soldiers, and you see that you can't pass the border. Anyway, you can go to Turkey, but you can't pass the border just from Armenian side. And I was thinking, is it possible, or will it be in 50 years opened, and will the guide in 50 years stand on the border and say, 50 years ago it was closed, and the visitors may be surprised or not. I see a lot of bridges between two societies, even if the border is closed. You can't see that bridges, but they are. So sometimes societies ignore the politics their governments do. Especially it is important in Turkey because young generation thinks other way. And but any day, I don't think that society can force a government to change its politics. I'm quite pessimistic, and I'm sorry for that. But maybe my children will see it. Hopefully.
As long as this process is delayed, the problems increase. The Germany faced with its Holocaust right after, and in 10, 20, and now it's 70 years. So in Turkish case, it has been 100 years and nothing at all, nothing in terms of recognizing, facing, and compensating as much as we can. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think it will get harder in every year that we wait and do nothing. There are intellectuals, and there are actually thousands or hundreds of thousands of people trying to change the ways which the society and the government acts towards Kurds, towards Armenians. But when you think about a nation of 75 million, still it is a really small percentage that is trying to change. And when we want to change something, especially in this issue, we have to start from the beginning, from the education system and the narratives and the discourse in the education system about the genocide, about the Armenians, about the Kurds. And then we can take the fruits of these changes maybe in 20 years, 30 years, when these children become adults.